Hello everyone. The Zagreb Championship started yesterday and I was playing round 1 yesterday evening. And first of all, I would like to congratulate my opponent that he managed to defeat me. And he played a good game. And I played probably the worst game ever. I don't know. I haven't run the game through the engine yet, but I'm sure that I've made 5 losing blunders, or four losing blunders. I missed one opportunity in which I could have won the game easily. And I couldn't fall asleep thinking about those mistakes, and I actually calculated them all correctly. I believe I'm going to see that with an engine afterwards, but I think those were all easy moves to see, and I can't realize why I missed them. So, we played the Caro-Kann. I had white pieces, so e4, c6, d4, d5, knight c3, d4, knight e4, bishop f5, the main line Caro-Kann, and after knight g3, bishop to g6. I didn't want to go for h4, h4, h6, h5, bishop h7, knight f3, etc. So, I was preparing not for this opponent, but for somebody, the line with knight to f3, after which white usually ends up being 1 or 2 tempi up, and I managed to get an even better position out of the opening. He played knight to d7, bishop to d3. If he doesn't trade the bishops, then I'm going to take on h6, he's going to take with the h-pawn, and I'm going to have middle game plans which are fairly aggressive, sometimes even castling queenside. But he took queen takes d3, e6, bishop to f4, grabbing the best diagonal for the bishop. And here I believe that white already has a slight edge. And if you can see, I have 4 pieces developed, he has only 1. So I have a great lead in development and much more piece activity. Here he played queen to a5 check. I can play bishop to d2 or c3. I played c3. Knight g to f6, and this was my first losing move. I only took about 10 minutes to calculate this, and I saw as far as knight to e2. You're going to see what the mistake was. I played b4, and I was looking at the lines at which the queen ends up at a6, and I couldn't see a problem. However, this move, I actually did look at this move with the engine yesterday immediately after the game, only thus far, and I saw that it was a big mistake. I didn't look at the game any longer at any other moves. The point of the move b4, in my mind, was that I'm going to provoke the queen moving a couple of times, and then I'm going to have a slightly better position with a space advantage on the queen side. So first of all, after queen to a3, my opponent is of course threatening to take b4 with the bishop, because my queen is hanging, so I have to play queen to c2. And this I thought was okay during the game. After the game, I realized that it was a mistake in its own right. Knight to d5, now my c3 pawn is hanging, so bishop to d2, losing the second tempo. I gained queen to a6, preventing me from castling, and now I can obviously try bishop e3, giving up the bishop. If I play knight to e2, then I can't castle because queen takes, so here I was already upset and I decided to play queen to d1, queen e2. Bishop d6, now he has the long diagonal, queen to e2. Here he takes, and this was my second losing move. I should have taken with the king, which is obviously much better, and the queens are off the board, so taking with the king would mean more activation for me than for him. But knight takes e2, and this is now just losing. I'm sure this has to be losing, because I have so many weak squares. He has so many good plans. He can play knight to b6, knight to c4. He can play knight to f6, knight to e4. My c3 pawn is weak. Everything is weak, and my pieces are, from being 10 times more active than his, they are now far more passive, and it was just horrible. And in this position, I'm sure he made a losing move, and I missed a tactic which was... I don't think I've ever missed such an easy tactic, and my biggest mistake was that I only took about 3 minutes to calculate. And I saw some complications which were in my mind only, and they didn't exist, so I'm really ashamed that I missed this. He played a5. And now, of course, I have to take the pawn. B takes a5, and I thought that he can't take with the rook because of c4. After he took with the rook, now I'm sure that I'm winning, and I castled. But after I came home, I started calculating c4, knight b4, and then I realized, okay, I have c5, I'm winning a piece. And during the game, I saw knight to b4, and I saw some weird checks which don't exist. I had strange ideas in my head that would activate his pieces somehow, and that I could only be worse. But the first time I started thinking about this tactic after the game, I realized that it was completely winning, and I'm sure it was. So this is the calculation. So c4, knight b4, c5, and he has to give up a piece. There's no way for him to save anything. So this is the check I was afraid of. If he tries knight to c2, I don't know what I could have played. I could have definitely saved my not saved my rook, but moved my king, and then I could have won the bishop and the knight afterwards. That's what I thought. But we will see with an engine. I wasn't sure what I should have played here. Perhaps this. No, wait, maybe it isn't winning, but I think it still is. Yeah, okay, after this, I can take the rook, and then if he tries to save his bishop, then I win the knight, and that's it. Yeah, I'm just winning a piece. And during the game, I was looking at c5, knight to c2, and that no, I'm losing my rook, and I can't go for this, but that was obviously a mistake. I think after c5, his best move would be knight takes c5, and just giving up a piece for 2 pawns. So this is where I could have won the game. And I'm sure I could have won the game because I calculated it in my head, and it's... Okay, so I played castles, and here he's definitely winning. Rook a4, just saving the rook and preventing c4. Now a long torture for me until I lost the game. Rook fb1, b5, knight e1, I'm trying to get my knight to d3, king e7. Knight d3, rook h a8, rook b2, I have to defend my pawn. Knight b6, and he is threatening, of course, knight c4, so I move my rook in advance. Knight c4, and here I think this is the one good move apart from the opening which I found, which is bishop to f4, forcing some kind of a trade which is favorable for me, because in any case I'm reducing the pressure. Knight takes f4, knight e takes f4, knight to b6, he's transferring his knight back to d5, and I have to move my knight back. So knight e2, knight d5, g3, I think this is an okay move because I'm making luft and I'm trying to play king g2, king f3, king e4, rook to a3, knight to e5, this was another mistake I think, because after knight e5, bishop e5, d5, he has rook a4, and this was my third losing move. In this position I should have just kept the tension in the position somehow, even though I'm sure I'm losing, so that after rook c4 I can play rook a to c1 and try to hold on. But then I think he would have some possibilities to attack the e5 pawn, and if at any point I play f4, he will have knight to e3, chasing away my rook, but still not having 3 attackers on c3, so it still could be holdable. But after knight d4, this is just lost, and now rook to c4, I have to bring my knight back, because I have to trade somewhat favorably, and that I end up a pawn down in a rook endgame, which could be drawn. So knight takes c3, knight takes c3, rook a c3, rook b2. I'm trying to keep my rook on the second rank. Rook c1, rook takes, king g2. This is now technically won rook endgame for him, definitely. Rook c4, king to f3, f6, ef6, gf6, king e3, e5, f3. I have to play g4 so that I can bring my king to e4 without getting checkmated. King e6, rook to d2, cutting his king off, rook a4, g4. So now if he checks me, I can go to e4 without being checkmated. Rook a3 check, rook e4, king e4. Rook to c3, h4, perhaps a mistake, I'm not sure, we will see. Rook c4 check, king e3, f5, I have to take, g5, king f5, rook d6. I think this was a good move because now I have some chances either cutting his king off or taking the h-pawn. Rook c3 check, king e2. I could have played king f2 as well, so if he plays, if my king was on f2, then after king f4, rook f6 is checkmate, but he would have seen that, so I played king to e2, which is safer because if he checks me, I can provoke his rook to take something and then I can take on c6. c5, rook h6, rook c2 check, king e3, rook takes, rook to a3 check, king f2. Now I have to prevent king f4, b4, and this was my fourth losing move. And this was the worst of all, probably. As soon as I played this, I just wanted to run away in some forest and scream because I played a horrible game. And luckily for me, my opponent didn't play the best move after this. I played rook to h5 check, which is definitely the worst move in the position because he has king to f4. After king f4, this is, I mean, it's losing anyway, but this is just losing in about 5 moves. He played king to f6 though, rook h6 check, king f7, rook c6. Now I thought I could have some chances for a draw because I managed to cut his king off, and it's not that clear that he can win, but we will see. Rook c3, king e2, b3, rook b6, c4, h5. I don't have any moves, I'm in Zugzwang. Rook c2 check, king d1. Now I was happy and I thought that there might be some chances to hold this, but I'm not sure, we will see. Rook h2, king c1, rook takes h5, king to b2, rook to h2 check, and this is about one or two moves before I resigned. Here, of course, I should play king to b1, just trying to hold somehow, even though there isn't too much chance for that, because if at any point he tries to attack this pawn, I can try to take these pawns, but then his king enters the positions, and I'm probably losing anyway. But after rook h2 check, I played king to c3, which is... I don't even have a word to describe how stupid this move was, because after this, of course, I'm just losing. And there's nothing I can do. So here I resigned, and yeah, once again, congratulations to my opponent. I'm mostly sad about playing b4 in Caro-Kann, which is my main opening to e4, and this is a variation I've been preparing myself with white pieces, and I think I had a great position. I think this is much better for white, and b4 is just much better for black. Horrible, and after... I'm sorry. Sorry, just a second. Sorry about that. I forgot to turn off my phone once again. Yeah, after knight takes rook takes a5. I'm sorry. The fact that I missed c4, or even worse, that I saw c4, but I was worried about knight to c2 check, and something was just bad. Okay, let's look at the game with the engine now. Okay. This position I know. This I know that is equal. It's much better to play h4, but I like this position. Knight d7, bishop to d3, bishop takes, queen takes. This is 0.6 for white, which is good, which I know. e6, bishop f4. The best move here is bishop f4 or castles. So yeah, this is already almost +1. Queen to a5 check is a mistake. c3 is good. Knight gf6. Okay, so this is +0.7, and the position is much better for white. I should have played either a3 to prepare b4, or h3, or castles. What I really wanted to play was castles, but then I saw the stupid move b4 and I played it. Okay, -0.3, queen a3, queen c2 is the best move. This is equal, actually. I expected it to be worse. Knight d5, all zeros, bishop d2, queen a6, queen d1. Okay, it's an okay plan to play queen to e2. Queen takes c2, yeah, okay. King takes c2 is 0, knight takes c2 is almost -1 for black. Yeah, okay. a5, b takes a5, rook takes a5. +2.5. If I play c4. So let's see, c4, knight b4, c5. If he tries knight c2 check plus 4, king d1, yeah, and I'm just winning. If knight takes a1, then just I take the rook. And if after c5, his best move is knight takes c5, so I'm winning a piece. D takes c5, bishop takes c5. Yeah, okay, horrible, but still a mistake to learn from. Castles, -2. I went from +2.5 to -2. Horrible. Rook a4, okay. I really don't think that I have to look at this any further. This was all losing all the time. Oh. Yeah, there's actually no way to hold this draw. It just keeps getting worse and worse. I want to see the position after rook d6. -2. Yeah, still no chance to hold. I want to see how bad rook h5 check is. b4. Oh, okay. Yeah, this was the worst move. It went from -3 to -12. Yeah, okay. Definitely a loss I deserved, and I only have to say I'm sorry that I played b4 and that I missed c4. Those are just... There's no excuse for missing that. Okay, I hope you can learn something from my mistakes, and I hope I can play better today. Round 2 is today in the afternoon, and stay tuned for more chess. I'll give you the analysis of round 2 sometime in the evening or tomorrow morning. Thanks very much. Bye.